never fails. I'll be doing a live and I'll be interacting and talking with people, and there'll be one person that'll come on and be talking about narcissists being demons and just go off on a tangent. And it's fascinating because there's a piece of that I could think could be true. And there's a piece of that I think is sometimes even other people's projection and pain and hurt. And there's a piece of it that, like, hey, we don't exactly know. So that's just the forefront of this conversation today. So if you're like, this guy don't know what he's talking about, that's fine. You can go ahead and keep scrolling. All right. When we're talking through this piece of narcissists and demons, my stance for the longest time has simply been that I don't think the majority of narcissists are demonic. I don't think the majority of narcissists have demons in them. Frankly, when we break it down, I don't think that demons need to waste their time with selfish human beings. Does that mean they don't? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying as a whole, when we're talking about narcissists in general and the thousands and thousands of narcissists that are on the planet, like, I don't really view this as being something that they're all possessed. Okay. So think of it this way. If we're dealing with the demons and we're dealing with possession and we're dealing with the spiritual realm, then we need to acknowledge all of the spiritual realm and not just the demonic piece. There's the demonic piece, and then there's the godly piece, or the piece of like, hey, like, there's actually spiritual warfare out there. There's spiritual aspects out there. There's aspects of being sanctified by God, being protected by God from demons, all different types of things. So do I think a believer can be like influenced and possessed by a demon? No, I don't think so. Do I think someone professing that is not actually a believer? Yeah, I do think that. And then there's a lot of people that lie about their faith and lie about who they are, and simply telling by their works, by how they're actually showing up. Like you see in the Bible, it says, by the fruit you shall know them. Well, when we're dealing with the narcissist, you're like, wait a second, there's not any fruit here. Like, there's not any fruit that this person actually does know God or is a Christian. And people get all dicey with this because they're like, oh, it says you can't judge. And don't read the Bible out of context, and let's start actually looking at what's there. Because there is a lot of judgment on how a person shows up. The law is all built on judgment. Then you have grace that comes in the New Testament, and all of these different pieces being able to show, hey, someone can still be seen and identified as following God and not following God. And that's okay, because there's not a piece of judgment of, well, you're a bad person. We're all bad people. So like getting to a place of understanding that all have sinned, fallen short, like when we start to wrap our mind around all of it, starts to change the frame of it a little bit. Okay. So just that's part of the laying it out, trying to get the first ground level set. Okay. Now, when we talk through this piece of narcissists and demons, one of the pieces that I mentioned early on is I don't think demons have to waste a lot of their time with humans, especially in this realm. I think demons would mess around with a lot of other people versus just dealing with narcissists. Let me explain. When you have a narcissist would be almost the epitome of someone with no moral structure, with someone who like doesn't care about other people, and with someone who's very, very entitled and selfish, right? And part of that, when I look at that, I'm like, all you need is one person that doesn't have the morality and the kindness to other people, and that doesn't take a demon to be an asshole. You see what I mean? Like when this person is just left to their own demise, like it doesn't take a demonic force to make them go down the wrong path. When someone is entitled to you and doesn't care about you and views you as an object, you don't have to have a demon inside of you to make you act that way. Like there's already a piece that's already moving. Well, ultimately, when it comes down to it, when you see a person that is just moving through this piece of being incredibly selfish and fulfilling all of their selfish desires and not having a morality piece of how it actually matches up to God or what they should be doing, then you get to a place that they're just living out their desires. They're just living out the fulfillment of the flesh, if you want to put it in like a biblical type term. But it's like this piece of just continuing to move into it and this habitual practice of how they're showing up, of how they're abusing. It's interesting because people then talk about, well, once saved, always saved, all this kind of stuff. But you also have to understand, like inside the Bible, it also talks about the fruits of the Spirit, right? We just learned about this inside of our Sunday service this past week. Fruits of the Spirit. And it talks before the fruits of the Spirit, it talks about, hey, the things you shouldn't have. And then it also says people that habitually do this don't go to heaven. You're like, whoa, wait a second. But it says like, if once you're saved, always saved. Okay. Well, you need to understand it's talking about this habitual practice. And this habitual practice would be people that actually operate this way aren't going to actually go to heaven because they never actually had a relationship with God. So whatever you think they might have, it's not actually shown by their fruit because there is no fruit. So demons are real. Okay, I'm not saying that they're not real at all. I think demonic influence, I think demons, I think entities, Satan, all these different things are real. The fact of the matter is the majority of Christianity turns a blind eye to it, even though it's all throughout the Bible and it's all throughout Scripture. That's one of the pieces that they like to throw out, simply because that doesn't fit in the nice cookie cutter Christian box that a lot of Christians operate in. They would rather be ignorant and move through the world, not thinking, not realizing that there's a spiritual realm to it and how it actually impacts and affects them on a day-to-day basis. Demons can oftentimes come into people's lives to be able to affect, influence, pull aside. Inside a believer's life, I don't think that they can take full possession. They can cause major issues. They can cause that thorn in the flesh. They can cause the peace that is going to be difficult. But I don't think they can actually possess another person. Now, someone who doesn't know God and isn't a Christian or isn't saved or doesn't have a connection with him, I think that it is possible for a person to be possessed. Now, is every narcissist possessed? No. Again, I don't think that every narcissist is possessed. Now, there's a piece of this that you also have to provide space for people inside their healing. And what I mean by that is you will have people that have been deeply hurt, that have been deeply abused, that have been deeply traumatized, that the best coping mechanism they can think of in that moment is to call the narcissist a demon, because that justifies it or it makes them feel better. Okay? I'm not talking about the black eyes right now. I'm just saying, hey, some people do this. I'm not saying that they're a bad person or that they're wrong or that they're messed up. I'm just saying some people do this, and part of it is mainly to justify what happened to them. Because in their mind, they think no one could actually do this. No human on this planet would actually do this, so it has to be a demon. And I need you to understand that, if someone is given over to their own desires and just left to run rampant, society and the world just crumbles. That person's morality and version of who they are completely disintegrates without the need of any other demonic influence. But simply being able to say, hey, you want that? You get that. Go ahead. You want to abuse that person so you can get what you want? Go ahead. That's it. When people are turned over to their own desires and they don't operate off of morality, they don't operate off of a standard, everything is on the table. You see this in our society with people changing around what they believe, changing around the facts of situations, changing around the direction of life they're going, simply because they don't want to embrace the facts of what's actually real or what's actually evidence. They just want to go off of what they want to go off of when they want to go off of it. You're seeing the demise in a lot of our culture today simply because people are willing to do whatever is right in their own eyes. People are willing to say and do and follow through with whatever. They're like, this sounds good to me. This is who I am now. This is what I like. Get over it. Get used to it. You see this with people that are justifying murder, that are justifying, hey, let's get rid of old people because they've expired. They're not going to remember it. You see people that justify it and just identifying different ways because they're like, well, I don't want to embrace the facts. I don't want to deal with reality. I'd rather do what I want to do. I realize that we're touching on some subjects you don't want to hear. But I need you to understand the culture that we live in is only going to get more and more narcissistic, more and more entitled, more and more filled up with themselves, more and more selfish, more and more defining their own reality versus actually the facts. And so you see this inside of the realm of people thinking, well, all narcissists have demons. A lot of narcissists don't. A lot of people that are struggling in the healing process would rather identify them as demon because it's easier to demonize that person than it is to admit that they're actually a human with feelings and emotions that chose to abuse you. That's a hard reality to come to. Especially because when you've been with that person for so long, you have your worth, you have your value, you have your validation tied up to that person. So the fact that he's human and he did this to you, you're like, that must mean I'm the worst thing ever. I'm worthless. And the problem is you start attributing your value to another person, letting another person define who you are, your value, your worth, when in reality, you're the only one that can define that by what you do today. You're the only one that has your value already predefined of being an amazing person in the universe that God created. This whole piece of saying the narcissist is a demon, I get it. There's a lot of people that think that. And there's a lot of people where we can see different aspects where a demon might have an influence or a demon might be there. But is it there in the majority of narcissists? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think it's letting someone fulfill their desires and not have any checks and balances, and as a result, they're going to continue to do what they're going to do. Part of the reason my life imploded, but also did not go to the place of complete and utter destruction, is because I think there was actually like a barrier. I think there was actually a wall, something holding me back. Didn't realize what it was then. Now I would testify that it's God that held me back from doing certain things. There are certain opportunities, there are certain openings of destroying my relationship even more, of being in another relationship, of opening up different doors that didn't open up. Simply because I don't think that it was allowed for it to open up. Because if it had, I would have been gone completely. There was a point in our healing where my wife said, I don't know why I stayed with you after I found out about some of the affairs, but she said, now when I look back, I realized that part of that time why I stayed with you, God simply had me there as a block, because otherwise you would have completely destroyed your life. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of narcissism is a choice, and a lot of abuse is a choice. And when it comes down to it, you just need someone who's selfish, entitled, and focused on themselves and thinks that they're the God of the universe and they can do whatever they want. That means anything's on the table, and they're going to keep doing it. Let me know what you thought of this episode. It's probably controversial, and you might like it, you might hate it, you might unfollow, you might follow. I don't know. Either way, would love to have you a part of the journey here. If you're new, my name is Ben Taylor. Now that I'm getting to the end of the video. Self-aware narcissist, helping provide transformation for people who are looking to heal, grow, change, and develop. If that's you and you're actually looking to heal from the shit that you've been through, go to my website, rawmotivations.com. Would love to be able to talk to you. Would love to be able to help you move forward in the healing process today.